So the question we want to ask is, how does companies establish a growth portfolio to develop their future? So every company has to ask three foundational questions. What do we do to protect and preserve our existing business? How do we create the future? And how do we transition from the past to the future, especially if the past and the future don't look the same? So while the growth can be achieved through mergers and acquisition, it's also the second way to achieve the growth is through organic approach. So my focus of the talk is about developing organic approach to growth and yet be adaptable and be able to be agile in developing that portfolio. The slide actually shows there are three versions of portfolio: product and services that we introduce to external customers, then internal processes that we create to deliver our solutions, and the business model through which we operate. We create value, we deliver value, and we extract or capture value. And these portfolio of solution can also be incremental to your industry in terms of changes, or all the way to radical paradigm shifting. So the question is, how do we develop them and create the future, as can be explained with the help of an S-curve. The S-curve shows the current, the incumbent product, the processes, and the business model, and then the future one. And the future one can be created by someone else or your own company. And the disruption happens when the new solution is able to go above and beyond and replace the incumbent solution. So the dynamics of the S-curve, it's actually there are choices exist. Can the incumbent extend their S-curve? Is the entrance S-curve ready to take on the incumbent? Does it need further development? Those are questions to ask as we work on our developing our S-curve. So let's do a quick poll. You can actually go to pollev.com and type in /GREGSCHLEGEL 910 and answer this question. What is the success rate of innovation in your organization? So if you are a consultant, you could ask the question, what's the success rate from the companies that you work with? So I'll give it a minute to see if you can poll and give us an idea on the success rate. So when we develop new portfolio of solutions, what is the success rate that you typically find? 20 to 40%, that is pretty common. Less than 20%. These are very typical. In fact, depending on whose research you study, you will find out that the success rate of innovation is between 10 to 20% on the average. So the question then comes back to asking, if we want to grow organically and innovation is the method we use to create new product, new services, and new processes and new business models, and if its success rate is very low, what should organizations do? So Jim, let's close the poll so that we can move on to the next slide.
If you're having problems, you can text Greg Schlegel 910 on your cell phone to 22333. That's another way to join. I just noticed there's only 3 respondents. So you might want to try that. Go ahead, Phil. You can just page down to the next slide.
So how does organizations manage their innovation? Well, innovation has moved from being an ad hoc process to innovation has a set of processes. So for most companies, actually, they do their innovation through their stage gate process. And the top opportunity exploration is the strategy for developing portfolio. And then you have the innovation process that you can use to create new products and services, new processes, or new business models. Then we commercialize them if it's a business model or products. If it's processes, we internalize them or operationalize them. And then it goes through daily management, continuous improvement, and when your S curve has reached its full maturity, you start thinking about redesign. So that's the overall process. If we take a deeper look at how does that innovation process look like, in the 1990s and early 2000s, this approach became very prominent among corporations and various organizations. What is the approach? The approach is called the stage gate process. And every company has a version of what is shown in these slides. It goes through the process of let's gather all the customer needs. Let's then look at the concepts possible to solve the customer's challenges. Let's create a system design, all the subsystems, and that's the preliminary design. And then we develop the detailed design, they pilot it, prototype it, then we launch it eventually. And during this process, we actually have major emphasis on the performance of the solution and all kinds of ilities. What are the ilities? Reliability, durability, usability, maintainability, manufacturability, etc. And this is a very rigorous process and very time consuming. It can take years or simple products, many months. In fact, many years is very typical for big product and services. So in spite of going through a stage gate process and completing your innovation process, what we found is that most innovations still fail. Depending on the research, over 90% fail, 80% fail, 75% fail. Failure rate is very high. So the question then we ask is, even though we went through a very rigorous process to understand the customer's need and perfect the products, why do we still have such high failure rate? The research found that the key reasons can be attributed to the 4 areas. We didn't really understand the customer's unmet needs in terms of solution neutral way. Second, the ideas they found were not the right ideas. Third, we don't have a viable business model where value proposition, value delivery, and value creation are all aligned. Or, for whatever reason, our customers and other stakeholders did not adopt the solutions. So these become foundational challenges. So if you missed any one of these and still you worked on all the ilities, making it manufacturable, making it reliable, making it durable, you still have a bad chance, bad probability at the success rate of your innovation. So then the question is, how do we solve this dilemma? So this is where the idea behind managing assumptions to knowledge ratio comes in. When an organization embarks on innovation, creating something new, redesigning that exists, but you're embarking and exploring a new world that is full of assumptions. In fact, assumptions about customer needs, assumptions about the ideas, assumptions about the business model, assumptions about customers' adoption. And there are two kinds of assumptions. Number one is the known unknowns, things we know that we don't know about customer needs, about ideas, about business models, and about adoption rate. Then we have the other assumptions called the things we don't even know that we don't know. That's the unknown unknowns. So how will we uncover them so that we can create the right solutions? So if you look at the assumptions to knowledge ratio, when we embark on an innovation challenge, that ratio is very high. The objective is there a way we can identify these assumptions and turn them into knowledge? These bursts we show are what we call sprints. So this is where we borrow the ideas from Agile and saying, can we actually test our assumptions about customer needs, ideas, viability of business models, and customer adoption through a series of sprints and convert these assumptions into knowledge and lower our risks while we develop the growth portfolio. That's the essence of the thinking that I'm describing in this webinar. It turns out more and more companies actually have learned this approach and actually split their innovation process that I showed as one box into two processes. First process is called the front end of innovation, where the goal is to understand the assumptions about the four burning questions. What are the true unmet needs in solution neutral language from the customer's perspective? What are the right ideas? Can we explore and find the right viable business models and understand what it takes to get customer adoption? Once we solve that challenge, that is through front-end innovation, now we have a solution portfolio that we can go ahead and develop them using the rigorous approach of back-end of design, where we focus on all the entities. So the front-end approach actually have come from or borrowed ideas from design thinking, lean startup, agile enterprise, rapid prototyping, etc. In design thinking, it focuses on empathy, ethnography, where we observe the customers and try to understand the jobs they are trying to get done. Lean startup says we can't make the full product. Let's test the assumption by creating a minimum viable product or minimum viable process, and then let's actually find out about our assumptions. Agile enables or creates a system that facilitates this process in a matter of weeks and saying, what did we learn? So picking up on all of these and many more movements out there, we created what we call it a rapid innovation sprint. Rapid innovation sprints has concepts borrowed from design thinking, lean startup, agile enterprise, business model, architecture, theory of inventive problem solving, biomimicry. All of them are integrated into asking and identifying assumptions about four foundational questions I described. So how do we actually do this? Just a reminder, the back end is all focused on design for X, where we turn good ideas into reliable solutions, usable solutions, durable solutions, serviceable solutions, etc. That becomes a latter challenge, and we decouple the innovation process. So let's take a deeper dive and look at that front-end innovation process, it really has to have the four components to it. We must truly understand what are the customer's needs from a solution neutral perspective. We must explore the whole world of ideas and find the best that solves our challenge. We must turn them into a design, developing the solution, and then we must demonstrate our innovation and test our assumptions. So that's the thinking behind the define, discover, develop, and demonstrate approach. It's actually synonymous with design thinking step. Design thinking will say ethnography and define. It's the same as define opportunity. Then it will say ideate. That's the same as discovering ideas. Then it will say prototype, which is developing solutions. And demonstrate is the equivalent of test. So if we take a look at it, the process is done or implemented as a series of sprints where the creativity and collaboration, testing, and exploring ideas are all key. In the first sprint, we asked the question, what innovation opportunities are worth pursuing? And you notice that there is a divergence and a convergence part as shown in the define logo. What does that mean? First, we explore the world of the job to be done. What jobs are customers trying to get done? So, famous quote from Professor Ted Levitt at Harvard Business School. People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill, they want to buy a quarter-inch hole. That's the essence of the job to be done. We can then take a deeper dive into the functional jobs customers are trying to get done. That's the engineering solution, the software solution. Well, how does customers feel while they get the job done? Those are personal and social jobs they want to get done while they use a solution. What related jobs customers want to get done while getting a job done? So when we go to Starbucks, the functional job is to receive that caffeine drink. The personal job is how you feel about the interactions and receiving that coffee and how you feel about enjoying it. Social job is how you want to be perceived while you had that interaction and you're enjoying that caffeinated drink. The ancillary jobs are the ones that you will do before, during, or after the main job to be done. So you explore that world, and then eventually we want to take a deeper dive to understand the hiring criteria customers use to get the job done. And then we actually do that through three processes. We go observe the customers, we talk to the customers, and eventually we want to find out which of these jobs are underserved, high importance and low satisfaction. For any job to be done, there are several dozens or hundreds of outcome statements. These are statements about the customer's need. We want to understand, are they very important to customers, and how satisfied are them? We pick those needs that are underserved with a high importance and low satisfaction. We focus our innovation efforts on these. In fact, when companies are able to focus on these underserved needs, the success rate for innovation has actually skyrocketed. So that's our first puzzle. We solve it with our first sprint. Let's now go to the second sprint. The second sprint will ask the question, now that we understand the innovation opportunities, what are the ideas? Again, discovering ideas have divergence where the metric is number of ideas and the variety of ideas. In the convergence phase, the quality of ideas and the feasibility of ideas become key metrics. The goal is to generate ideas. Well, where do these ideas come from? The ideas come from the individual, the team, the ideas from your industry or my industry. That's what most companies and organizations do very well. But lots of ideas reside outside the industry and in nature, the approach behind biomimicry, if we actually want to make breakthrough solutions. Regardless of your field, whether it is software development or data analytics or designing a self-driving car or creating a glue, nature has abundant solutions that we can borrow from, or other industries have ideas that we can borrow from. So let's go back and do a quick poll to see, how do you come up with ideas in your organizations? What are the common methods that companies use that either you work with or your own company to create solutions? So go to PaulEV, Greg Schlegel, 910, or you can use the text. Voice of the customer, okay, customer inquiries. How about the method you use for generating ideas? Like brainstorming? Delphi method, lots of customer method, focus groups. We got brainstorming, focus groups, Kano analysis, observation. See, all of these are actually methods to analyze and understand the needs, and then we use brainstorming as the method to connect the dots and come up with the ideas. Jim, is the poll closed?
It'll just keep going until we go to the next slide. So
okay.
Just go to the next slide.
Okay, I see trees. That's the theory of inventive problem solving. That's actually the method, one of the primary method to generate ideas from other industries. It's actually built on searching or analyzing millions of patents and extracting principles to help us connect dots. All right, I'm going to move to the next slide. So here is an example of the sprint where we generate ideas. Unfortunately, most organizations use dysfunctional method of brainstorming. What's a dysfunctional method of brainstorming? The dysfunctional method of brainstorming is a bunch of us get together in the conference room, one of us stand in front of the flip chart, and then everybody else is yelling at their ideas. Well, that's the dysfunctional method. A more functional method is to actually have some process and a rigor to generate ideas, where each individual's creativity is valued. So we actually encourage, once we discuss the problem, each person take a post-it notes and generate full sentences. One idea per post-it note, write ideas in full sentences, silently brainstorm. Do not discuss or kill ideas. When you kill ideas, you actually use the bell to show that that's not allowed, because we are in the generative phase. Typically, 100 to 300 ideas can be generated by a team in the one sprint for a set of problems. We encourage sketching. When we do that, we are exploring the full world of ideas. Nothing is left behind. If we encourage that, then we are ready to move above and beyond. So the generative phase, we individually generate ideas, writing one idea per post-it note. We even give them a target, 3 ideas every 5 minutes. And we go in small bursts of sprints of 15 minutes ideation. In 15 minutes, we take 3 problems. Each person generate 3 ideas in 5 minutes. That means 5 times 3 in 15 minutes, you should generate 9 ideas. It's like bench pressing. It's like going to the gym. We are exercising the creativity muscles. First time when we do this, some people will struggle, but eventually all of us actually can demonstrate the fact that we are all very good at this. We also move the ideas into what we call idea banks. A friend of mine, Rolf Smith, has written a book about 7 levels of change. Level 1 through 5 ideas are paradigm consisting ideas. Doing better things, doing right things, cutting out or stop doing non-value added stuff, borrowing the best ideas from your industry. These are all level 1 through 5 ideas. We call them inside the circle ideas, paradigm consistent idea bank. Then we move on to finding ideas from other industry. We also try to get ideas that in the beginning look impossible or crazy. We actually protect these ideas separately because it's easy to kill ideas that are in the edge of the circle, or in some culture the opposite. They need different protection. Once we receive these ideas, now we can actually say, have we solved the problem? If we have not solved the problem, we have to figure out how to seek ideas from other industries and the nature. Other industries, how do we do that? This is where we depend on many techniques, and one prominent approach is actually trends that is developed, technology trends developed from analysis of patents. By analyzing 100+ million patents, researchers have come up with several technology trends. For illustration, I'll go through one trend here. It's called the trend of dynamization. It's a trend that's relevant for devices or anything that has mechanical or physical component to it. The shield actually has evolved from an immobile shield to a jointed shield to a multiple jointed protection to a flexible Kevlar. So if you're at this place, what's next? The trend from the analysis of patents have shown that it has moved on to leveraging liquid or gas to solve the job to be done, and eventually through using a field like laser, like electromagnetic waves to get the job done. The trend predicts that the Kevlar should really be looking into a liquid or a solid or a field to come up with the next. In fact, while Kevlar is from DuPont, a company in Poland actually came up with something called a liquid armor. Liquid armor is actually leveraging a non-Newtonian fluid to make the Kevlar much stronger. The liquid armor, it actually stops the bullet much better than the typical Kevlar. So the idea is embedding liquid, non-Newtonian fluid, where you press against it, it actually thickens and absorbs that shock. So this idea has moved to the next level. And then if you are already there, you can ask the question, how do I take advantage of the field to stop the bullet or provide protection? So that's a way to borrow idea from other industry. Of course, we can get ideas from nature. How will nature solve my problem? Biologize your question. And here is an example for glue. We've been trying to figure out how to make glues that are non-toxic or non-carcinogens, or even find glues that will work in dry environments. Turns out this caddisfly on the right or the sandcastle worms in the left are able to produce glues in water. Can we borrow that ideas and use it in medical practice to do fetal surgery or close the hole in your heart? People are doing research on this topic. A whole bunch of industry has evolved based on lotus leaves method of repelling water droplets or keeping it self-cleaning. I won't spend much time here. The point is to say that someone somewhere already solved a problem. It may not be in your industry, or nature has already solved the problems you're trying to solve. How do we borrow these ideas? So once we are there, so the question is, how well have we adopted these solutions for us? I'll do a quick poll to see if any of you are using biomimicry to get ideas for your innovations. So go ahead and use the poll EV. Little to none. Well, apparently this is the most exploding new science that more and more companies are embracing. One prediction actually I saw that by between 2000 and 2030 and 2050, we expect that 70% of the new patents will come from inspirations from nature, biomimicry. So that's something for all of us should be thinking about. So I am now turning into the third sprint where we develop solutions. How do we turn our ideas into solutions? This is where we develop prototypes. It starts with sketches, and then you can create workable or non-workable prototype. But above all, it's important to ask the question, the solutions that we came up with, what is the business model architecture behind it? It has 4 areas. The one in the yellow in the middle shows the value proposition or the value offering. What's the main offering? What's the related offering? What's your brand strategy? The orange color in your right side shows the value delivery. Who is the customer? What's the job they are trying to get done? How will you create a good experience for the customer? What are your channels? The one on the left in the blue demonstrate the value creation process, and the green shows you value capture or financial process. So now we turn this into more and more prototyping, and that's the end of develop phase. And once that's done, we then move into demonstrate phase. We ask the question, can we create a minimum viable product, a minimum viable process, and test our assumptions with customers and other stakeholders? And this can be very much like a sketch to physical prototype, to a wireframe model, to a simulation, to all kinds of methods we can use to test our assumptions. And that's our last sprint. And once these 4 sprints are done, we have high certainty in terms of answering the 4 questions. The unmet customer need, did we find the right ideas, did we create a design and a business model that's viable, and will the customers adopt our solution? And then we can turn them into, if the answer is yes, we can turn them into, let's perfect this solution, design for all the elites. And that's where the linear stage gate process comes in very handy, so that when we launch solutions, it actually can solve the customer's challenges. So we've gone through the whole process of asking the question, especially given our time in difficult times, what would companies do to find their future? What new products and services, or what redesign of products, processes, and business models are necessary to flourish and thrive in the new future? Since creating the future comes with risks, how do we manage the risks? By turning and learning about assumptions into knowledge And that's where the agile experiments, the rapid innovation sprints comes in handy. And I've explained the process of turning assumptions into knowledge while mitigating and managing our risks using the agile approach and being adaptable. That's the essence of rapid innovation sprints and building resilient enterprise. Jim, I'm turning it